The diplomatic hall of the Galactic Council Station fell into stunned silence as Ambassador Thelrax turned from the viewport, all four eyes widening in what could only be described as parental horror. Outside, floating in the zero-gravity training yard meant exclusively for military drills. 6 Velcrin cubs marched in formation. That alone would have been surprising. What made every delegate in the chamber freeze was what the cubs were wearing. Full human combat armor. "By the ancestors," Thelrax whispered, her fur bristling. "My younglings." Captain Mara Lorne had been in the middle of explaining humanity's proposed defensive protocols when the commotion started. She followed the ambassador's gaze and felt her jaw drop. Her armor. Those cubs were wearing pieces of her gear, the same equipment she'd left in the human quarters after yesterday's training exercise. The smallest cub, barely reaching what might be a human 5-year-old's height, wobbled under a helmet 3 sizes too large. Another had somehow squeezed into a chest plate, waddling like a determined turtle. But leading them all was Vrek, the ambassador's eldest, wearing Mara's combat visor with surprising confidence. "Formation." Vrek's high-pitched voice crackled through the suit's external speakers. "Left, right, left, right." The other cubs attempted to follow, creating a chaotic but earnest display of military discipline. One tripped over oversized boots and tumbled in slow motion through the zero-gravity space, tiny paws flailing. How did they, Counselor Vraish, a towering crystalline being, turned to Mara with something resembling accusation? Human security is supposed to be impenetrable. Mara felt heat rising to her cheeks. Her quarters were locked with biometric seals, military-grade encryption, pressure sensors. Yet somehow, 6 cubs, no taller than her waist, had breached every defense. Thelrax was already moving toward the airlock, her diplomatic composure cracking. "Vrek, younglings, return immediately." Through the viewport, Vrek's small form straightened. Even through the oversized visor, Mara could sense the cub's pride. "Cannot return. Mother Alpha. We are on patrol." Humans never abandon their posts. Several delegates exchanged worried glances. The Velcrin were one of the Council's most cautious species, a race that had survived extinction through careful planning and extreme risk aversion. Their young were kept sheltered, protected, never exposed to anything resembling danger, until humans arrived. "This is your fault," growled Ambassador Kren Thor, the Drachni representative whose species had voted against human inclusion in the Council. "Your reckless culture, your glorification of combat, your doctrine." "With respect, Ambassador," Mara interrupted, unable to suppress a small smile. "Those cubs just defeated security systems that have kept out trained infiltrators for 3 years." The observation hung in the air. Thelrax had reached the airlock, but she paused, one paw on the controls. Through the glass, her cubs continued their determined march. Vrek had organized them into a defensive formation around the smallest, who was still struggling with the helmet. "They've been watching the human training exercises," Thelrax said quietly. "Every day. From the observation deck. I thought it was harmless curiosity." Mara stepped beside the ambassador, studying the scene more carefully. The cubs weren't just playing. Vrek had them covering each other's blind spots. When one stumbled, another immediately moved to assist while maintaining formation. These weren't random movements, they were adapting human tactical doctrine. "How long were they unsupervised?" Mara asked. 20 minutes, Thelrax's ears flattened in shame. "I was called to an emergency session. I left them in the secure family quarters." 20 minutes. 20 minutes to bypass biometric locks, navigate through 3 restricted sectors, locate and don human military equipment, and organize a formation drill. Mara felt a strange mixture of professional concern and inappropriate pride. "Captain Lorne," Counselor Vresh's voice carried a sharp edge, "this incident demonstrates exactly why many of us opposed humanity's militaristic, no." Thelrax's quiet word cut through the chamber like a blade. Every delegate turned. The Velcrin ambassador stood taller, her fur settling, eyes fixed on her cubs through the viewport. "For 3 generations, we have raised our young in perfect safety, perfect stillness. We have taught them caution, patience, and fear of the unknown. And in that time, We have grown weaker. She turned to face the council, and Mara saw something shift in the ambassador's expression, something ancient and fierce rising from beneath layers of diplomatic training. My ancestors were hunters, Thelrax continued. Before we learned to fear every shadow, we explored. We adapted. We survived. Then we met the great predators of the galaxy, and decided the only way to endure was to hide. She gestured toward the viewport. Look at them. My Vrek, who wouldn't leave my side 2 months ago. Now he leads. Now he protects his siblings. Not because humans taught him violence, but because humans showed him courage. Krenthor bristled. This is foolish sentiment. My cubs defeated your vaunted human security in 20 minutes. Thelrax interrupted, and Mara caught the hint of a smile. Perhaps foolishness is precisely what the galaxy needs. Outside, Vrek had noticed the audience. Instead of shame or fear, the young cub raised one small paw in a salute. Mara recognized one she demonstrated during yesterday's training. Sir, Vrek's voice echoed through the speakers. Patrol complete. No hostiles detected. Requesting permission to return to base. Mara found herself snapping to attention without thinking. Permission granted, soldier. Excellent work. She could practically feel Krenthor's glare burning into her back. The cubs began making their way toward the airlock, Vrek ensuring each one navigated safely. As they entered, squealing with excitement and tumbling over each other, Thelrax knelt down. Her stern expression melted into something softer. You disobeyed direct orders, she said. You entered restricted areas. You took equipment that wasn't yours. Vrek's ears drooped. Yes, Mother Alpha. And you kept your siblings safe the entire time. You adapted. Thelrax gently removed the oversized visor. Like a true alpha. Alf. The cub's eyes went wide. Thelrax stood, turning to Mara. Captain Lorne, I believe we need to discuss improved security protocols. Absolutely, Ambassador. And perhaps... Thelrax glanced down at Vrek, who was watching with desperate hope. Some proper training for those who show such initiative. The diplomatic chamber erupted in protests. But Mara was already smiling. She knelt beside Vrek, meeting the cub's large eyes. Training starts at 0600 tomorrow, she said. Think you can handle it, soldier? Vrek's answering grin showed every one of his small, sharp teeth. In the corner, Counselor Vriesh sighed deeply. The humans have been here 6 months, and already they're corrupting our youth. But Thelrax was watching her, cubs no longer cowering but standing tall in their too large borrowed armor, and her voice carried quiet certainty. No, Counselor. They're reminding us what we forgot. Outside the viewport, Earth hung in the distance. That strange blue world that had sent its reckless, brave species to the stars, and in the diplomatic hall of the Galactic Council, 6 small cubs stood at attention, wearing human gear, carrying something more precious than any armor. They carried hope, and perhaps, Mara thought, that was the most dangerous weapon humanity had ever shared.